Let's go ahead and get to creating our Peekaboo card. We don't need a lot of supplies for our card. We're going to begin with a piece of 8.5 by 11 Daffodil Delight cardstock. I have a piece of Whisper White cardstock. This is 4 1/4 by 8 1/4. And then I just have a little scrap of Lemon Lime Twist because we're going to create some leaves with that. We do need to do some cuttings and some scoring. So let's go ahead and talk about what we need to do. We do want to start by cutting the Daffodil Delight down to 8.5 by 8.5. So that's going to be a really easy piece to work with. This one here, hang on to it. We're actually going to be using that one. I now have this 8.5 by 8.5. Let's cut it in half at 4 1/4. And let's take this one here. So this is 8.5 by 4 1/4. Remember, these are identical. And we are going to score this at 4 1/4. Our remaining piece of cardstock, we actually need to trim it down just a hair. We need to cut 1/4 inch off of this. So it's going to be 8 1/4 by 4 1/4. And then what we want to do is we want to score this at 5 1/2 inches. All right, so that's going to leave us this little flap here. And the last bit we need to work with, and that is the Whisper White. So what we want to do here is we're going to score this piece at 5 1/2 inches and then go down 1/4 inch to 5 3/4. And that's where we're going to cut. You're going to come in with a bone folder and give all of these pieces a nice crease. We want those to be nice and firm. We're going to now come in, we're going to adhere our square piece and our larger of the Whisper White. So you can see there's my little score line. I'm actually going to use my multi-purpose glue for this, and we're just going to add a little glue. You can also use your tear and tape or fast fuse, whatever makes you happy, but I kind of like, for some of these thinner areas, I really like to use my multi-purpose glue. All right, you notice the flap is to the right. That's what we need, and we're just going to adhere these together. We're going to come in with a 2-inch circle punch, and I'm actually going to go through both of these layers. And so you can see again, flap to the right. I'm going to slide my punch in as far as it'll go, and I'm lining up the edge of the punch with the Daffodil Delight. And yes, we're going to punch through too. It goes through pretty easy. Now let's go ahead and bring in our other piece of Daffodil Delight. There's that flap, and it's off to the left. So I'm going to just kind of lay all of this out like so. I'm going to flip it over, and you can see, I can see where that circle punch goes. I'm going to take one of my scraps here and just a dot of snail just to kind of hold this in place. Make sure everything's lined up. I'm going to take that circle, stick it down. I can now move this out of the way, and this is going to allow me to punch a circle right where I need it. All right, let's go ahead and do some stamping. So we're going to start with this piece here. Now, this is actually, even though you think this is the front, and it is, of course, this is where our first sentiment is going to go. I'm going to come in with the Daffodil Delight ink pad, and I'm going to be using the Lemon Zest bundle. This is the Lemon Zest bundle. Love this one. It has a matching builder punch. Very fun because I have my lemon and my leaves, and I've got a lot of different sentiments here. And in fact, I'm going to change up the sentiments in this one, but I'm going to start with that lemon slice, and it's just going to go right here inside this circle. There we go. And now I can come in with the sentiment, and I'm going to do that with the Memento black ink. And remember, I said this is my first sentiment. So I'm going to say, if life gives you lemons, and then my Peekaboo sentiment is going to be squeeze it for all it's worth. So I want to start with, if life gives you lemons. We can stamp that right over our lemon slice. And you notice it fits right there in the hole. Lovely. Now, let me just move this ink off to the side because we're going to be ready to work on our other piece. So let me slide that out of the way. This one here, we're gonna open it up. So here's our flap. Let's take that remaining piece of Whisper White. I've just put some snail on the back of that, and I'm actually just going to line it up with the edge of that cardstock. And we are ready to do the stamping on this part. So to do that, I'm just going to put these two pieces together. You can see I'm kind of lining up the circles, and let's flip. We're gonna flip the flap, guys. We're gonna flip that flap down. Well, let's stamp inside the circle again. And this one is ready for the second sentiment. And we can come in with that basic black again, or the tuxedo black, forgive me. And we're gonna stamp Squeeze It for All It's Worth. To put our card together, I'm gonna come back in with the multi-purpose glue, and I'm just going to adhere these two together. This is another reason, that's why I said I like the multi-purpose glue, because it's gonna allow me to move my card around as I'm trying to line things up. Just gives you that little wiggle room that you need. Let's adhere these together like so. So can you see how that's going together? Let's go ahead, make sure those circles are lined up nicely. I'm gonna give that a nice back rub. One of the best tips I have in making sure that your card is going together correctly is to look for the Z. So can you see we've got our little Z there, and then this flap is gonna go right in the middle. Let's go ahead and test out our card so that when I open it, there we go. So if life gives you lemons, squeeze it for all it's worth. All right, so that's looking good. Let's go ahead, it's time to decorate the front. And I wanna do a little bit of sponging. I'm just gonna open my card out. I have just some scratch paper here. Let me come back in with that Daffodil Delight, and I'm actually going to use a sponge dauber. And I just wanna kind of enhance this wonderful little circle here. I wanna make it pop. I want it to really just have some nice dimension to it. So I'm actually going to also come in, and I want to get the edges of my card as well. So I'm going to do that all around my card, adding that little bit of Daffodil Delight. All right, I like how that looks. Let's go ahead and come in with that remaining piece of Daffodil Delight. And in advance, I went ahead and stamped 2 solid lemons and a lemon slice. So let's go ahead and bring in the fabulous matching punch, and we can punch out the 2 lemons. And to punch out the slice, I'm going to come in with the 1 3/4 inch circle punch. So let's just give our lemon slice a quick punch. So and you can see I've stamped 3 leaves. You could stamp 3, 4, whatever makes you happy. We can go ahead and cut those out, give those a nice little punch. And then I want to take that lemon slice, and we're just going to cut that in half so that we have a little wedge. All right, let's start putting some things together. I'm going to bring my card back in, and I've added some snail to the back of my lemons. I'm just going to lay them on here. I don't want to press them down until I'm really happy with the location of them. Let's come in now with that lemon slice, and I've got a couple dimensionals on the back of this. I don't want to come into that circle, but let's get our dimensions on there. Yep, I think I'm happy with that. I'm gonna give that a nice press. I'm going to take, I've got about 6 inches of our basic black shimmer ribbon. I think this just adds a little something to the card. And I'm just gonna tie this in a square knot here onto the side, right over left and under, and then left over right and under. And my trick for square knots is kind of gently pull, and then only pull what's in your left hand, and watch the little knot just kind of creates exactly that nice square that we're going for. Let's trim down the tails, and there we go. If life gives you lemons, squeeze it for all it's worth. Now we had that one little lemon slice left over. We could go ahead and just add that right here if we wanted to. Plenty of room to write your message. Guys, a very fun little peekaboo card.